All right, we are back with our candidate series. For those that haven't seen any, my name is Cory King. I'm the executive director of the Bath-Brunswick Regional Chamber. I do have a disclaimer I'm going to say at the beginning of all videos, which is the chamber does not endorse any particular candidates for any positions. These are just videos designed to get the candidates out in front of you so you know who you're voting for this election season. And with that, Suzanne, very nice to meet you. I'm going to start you off with question one here. What district are you running for and where does that cover?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Cory. So I am running as an unenrolled candidate for Senate District 24, which is Sagadahoc County and Dresden. I should actually say intentionally unenrolled. I don't believe you need a party to represent the people of Maine. I was actually asked who I was going to caucus with, and my response was, "You actually have that wrong. It's what am I going to caucus for?" And that's for the people of Maine. Ultimately, I will align with a party during the legislative process, but it'll be the one that earned. It's based on earning on merit and not based upon a political machine, truthfully.
Wow, that is refreshing and honestly, I if you did line up all of the parties in Maine, I do believe that Democrat and Republican would be second and third to people that are unenrolled. Um,
I hope so.
yeah,
Perfect.
say your last name for me so we all have it correct.
Andresen.
Andresen. All right, Andresen.
Yes, I travel a lot for work, and there's many a hotel room I check into they can't find. Like, oh, Mrs. Anderson, we don't see you here.
Oh
I'm like, I'm not Mrs. Anderson.
no. I see. I'm Cory without an E, and that's been its own thing. Anyway, okay. So I like to ask all the candidates the same questions and just kind of let you go wherever you want to go with it. So
Sure.
first off, tell us a little bit about your background and why you're running for office.
So I'm in my second term as a municipal officer with West Bath. Over the past 5 years, I've really learned a lot and seen a lot, and I've seen how taxes have affected the community. I was also able to see how firsthand the stabilization program created hope, and then when replaced, it was a concerning financial position for many of the residents. At that time, West Bath, it was in a unique position, and we were in the midst of completing a revaluation and our with our tax basis at the time that we launched the stabilization program. And when our tax rate went up and the stabilization program was repealed, it was almost like a double negative to the residents. So Maine has the oldest population in the state and actually in the nation, and we need to honor their contributions to our state and not tax them out of their homestead. These folks are the foundation to our state and need to find a way to freeze the taxes for them and maintain, their tax rate and not liquidate their homes, which in many cases are truthfully a generational significance in their family. I think maybe the way to fund that, an idea would be a consumption tax. We have a significant amount of tourism that comes to the state from May to October, and that the burden of those vacationers really falls on our residents. And I think we could come up with something simple, not overly tax them, but something, a $3 charge for non-residents who want to go to our beaches and parks or get a fishing license or a hunting license, maybe a $12 per night residency tax for their lodging, and that from that, it's not. Does it all come up to $100? Maybe a $2,500 or $3,500 weekly rental. I don't think that's going to make or break anybody's vacation, but it will certainly help remove the burden that our residents feel from that when they're here vacationing. And not only when they're here, we all accommodate the longer lines in the roads and the food stores and everything else that we have. So I think that something like that will certainly help the residents of Maine. And it's important. I think we need to. There's things that we can do better. We've got some good foundations in the state, and I've got a couple strategies I think can actually be better for our residents.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your background. You said you've been a Bath municipal. You're a town
West
council.
Bath, West Bath.
West Bath. And is it city council, town council?
Select board, select board, and we're also the overseer of the poors, the assessors
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah.
So my personal career, I am a co-owner of REI Inc. magazine. It's a national real estate investment publication.
Oh, okay.
We are in our 6th year of print production. Everyone says that print's not here to stay, but I beg to differ because it's REI, real estate investor, then INK, as in the written word. So I absolutely believe print's here to stay.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. No, and I do too. I think I think print is lessened, but there's nothing like the tactile experience of holding some things. And there are some standard bearer print publications that are going to be around in perpetuity. So no,
We've
we're
actually seen the request for it increase from COVID when people are, have shown their ability to work from home. They're no longer sharing an issue in in their office, with the other coworkers. So now we're sending more to home office than we've ever done before.
that's interesting. So we still do our travel guide, our we call it our companion guide. And one of the reasons too is when people are traveling, around our area, your cell phone isn't always going to get you there. If you're out in Harpswell somewhere,
There's plenty of spots that won't get you there in Maine.
there's plenty of times you need a paper map.
Well,
So
that's why sometimes you need to turn it off too.
yeah, well, oh boy, you're not getting yeah rerouting. Like Anyway, sorry, we were off the topic. We will be
No
off the
worries.
topic. Question three: what are the top three issues affecting Mainers right now that you look forward to working on if elected?
Certainly. So, well, with my background in real estate, I think housing is a primary hurdle for Maine. They're facing a shortfall of 80,000 housing units by 2030.
Hmm.
And close to that would be the cost of living, which includes food, healthcare, and our energy costs. We also need to develop a strategy to encourage our younger residents to stay here. Similar to that, our older residents are our foundation, our younger residents are our future. And I think we're falling short on that. There's no housing and strategies, so let's start with housing. I'm fortunate enough to be immersed in the real estate industry, and I communicate with more than 60,000 investors 3 times a week. And I'm currently in discussion with 2 investors that are interested in developing housing. One of them, actually, I have a proposal in hand for 250 to 500 workforce housing units.
Oh,
And those are there to benefit the hourly employees, the fixed income folks, and starting with an efficiency, and then going and growing into a 2 bedroom where you can grow within the complex. But at some point in time, if you're looking for a 3 bedroom, you're probably looking for a backyard for your family as well. And it's a way for those entering the workforce, to help them find housing, and start out, whether it's nursing or BIW has a significant shortage. My husband works there. They hired 700 employees and only could maintain 171 because there was not enough housing. So that there's something wrong there, that we can't do that. But it's not even just for the employers in the state, but even just our residents. And you've got kids that are graduating high school or college or whatever their goals are. How do we help them find housing where they can start to establish their own lifestyles? Leave their parents at some point. Everyone wants to do that, but find a way, to do that. And it's just, housing is really just a component of a shortage. But we have other things. Let's talk about the cost of living. Maine is at fourth in the country, tied for fourth in the country for the highest cost of internet. Nothing you want to be tied for, and certainly at that level. And right behind that, we're 10th in the country for the cost of natural gas and propane. And these are components that people are using all the time here. And we're about to experience increases in our electric bills again, and all these subsidies are really off the solar and wind projects. And these are, we can't fund these off the back of our community all the time. Every time, a $12 increase is a $12 increase.
right.
That's a significant amount of money for folks, and we need to make these increases more palatable and really for the true benefits of those paying the bills. And these, we don't receive much. I don't say we don't want to see much of these benefits of the program. I'm all for energy conservation, but when this all came out, initially the state of Maine was going to be electric cars by 2030.
Mm.
That's not a realistic, and I'm not faulting anyone for that statement, but we need to, I'll say walk before we run. Let's bridge that gap with hybrid and find other ways, as we go down this route to let's go about it the right way, and don't create unnecessary stress or burden with people on how they're trying to figure out how they can accommodate this change in society. And again, I think energy consumption is a great plan, but there's a couple ways to do it better. And then, you get into these, now that we've got the solar farms and the wind farms, what is the life expectancy and where are they going to be disposed of? Yeah. And there's a significant cost with that. And do we really know if there's a contaminant, that's going to come out of there, or where are they going to go? Because Maine has a beautiful, atmosphere and a picturesque, waterfront. And we don't want to, change that dramatically, but also we need to make sure that And we've seen some PFAS elements that have contaminated farms, and certainly what happened at the Brunswick airport not too long ago. How are we going to manage and make sure that we don't hurt our residents and hurt our land? Because how do we move forward with that? And I don't know the answer to that, but we certainly need and should have that before we really truck forward in this strategy.
Boy, that's a few topics that I am duly passionate about. Housing is one that, I mean, when we talk to our businesses about what, it's housing, transportation, childcare. I mean, it's those three issues that businesses haven't had to look at before. It wasn't part of the employer's responsibility, but now we're getting to a point where it's affecting their workforce and how they recruit and retain their employees. And so now they do have to look at it.
99.2% of business in Maine is small business. And we're coming out with these strategies. And wouldn't it be nice if we could all have these family leave and inexpensive health care and childcare? And I get all of that. But I am a small business. We don't have a significant amount of employees to run the magazine, and everything we do it purposefully and making sure that we can pay for it as we implement it. And I think mandating certain benefits in the long run is the risk of backfiring. Because if you say, okay, you have to have family leave and you have to provide this, and this is now the hourly rate that you're going to pay, what happens when the business folds? That the employee that you're trying to get those benefits for is now unemployed. So I think we're going too fast down that path. We'd be better off revamping our healthcare offerings in the state of Maine, which is a benefit that everyone has, whether you're through a small employer or not. And I think that's, the crux of how do we start with that? How do the food? There's certain food insecurities. Some of the stuff we do in West Bath is with the food pantry in Bath, and and it's funny. I tried. I years before, when I first got married, my husband and I had a deli, and I learned how to cook for the masses. And I tried with 3 different food establishments, grocery stores in this community, to teach cooking. I was going to come in, whatever protein they had on sale for that week, I wanted to teach them how to feed a family for 4 for around $12 for dinner. And, whether it was chicken or pork or whatever it was, come up with a recipe and literally teach it, hand out the spices. So if you go here, get this broccoli, this pork tenderloin and rice and ice cream sandwiches, whatever it happens to be. And here's the recipe. Here's what it tastes like. Go ahead and cook it tonight. You'll do it for $12 for 4 people. And I think every time I said it, and it was part of my political platform, they're all like, oh no, this is a political, it's actually, 1, I don't have a party, but 2, it's to teach people. And I was surprised how many stores didn't want to go down that path. It was frustrating because I had no political motivation in that.
Right. Well, one of the housing points too that I always like to talk about is everyone's right. We need affordable housing. We need workforce housing. Absolutely. Actually, we need housing at all levels, because the example I give is, if God forbid my house burned down, tomorrow.
Sure.
My wife and I would get a check, and we would be looking for something in the 275 to 375 range. If there wasn't anything in that inventory in the area, we can't go higher than that. We don't make enough to go more than that. Our only option is to outbid the person who can only afford the $245,000
right.
house. And then what do? They outbid the person that can only afford the $150,000 house. And so if we don't have it at all levels, as much as it's important, is because some of the affordable housing is getting gobbled up by people that could pay more, but there's nothing for them. And so
I was surprised to see the housing cost, because I see it nationally. I'm fortunate enough to really watch and see what's going on, and I communicate with investors all the time. And to see, I was surprised that Maine not only hit the 20%, I'll say uptick during COVID, but also maintained it. And and certainly I'll say we're 2 hours from Boston proper here in the Bath area, so that as people realized they could work from home. All of a sudden, you could, if you had to go down to Boston 1 day or 2 days a week, you could get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you can come back at night and still be able to live and work from home. And I see it start coming down. It certainly feels like the interest rates are coming down. And I put a program in place, to bridge the gap from rental to home ownership, similar to what a 529 is, where you contribute money to a kid's college fund, and at birth you're deciding that they're going off to college. And that's not all true for the kids when they hit 18. And much to the parents' dismay. But this January of this year, the IRS said, okay, if you have money remaining in your 529 account, you can transition that to an IRA based upon your contributing factor of your age, so long as somebody's been there for 15 years or more. Well, let's call that a 529R or C for college. Now let's create a 529R for real estate. And you can, as the tenant, you can put, let's say, 4% a month aside, tax deferred, tax free, into an account that'll follow you just like your college fund would to wherever you want to go to college, wherever you choose to rent. And the landlord can match that also for a contributing factor. So now you're building this account that can follow you all over the country. And then if and when you're ready to purchase a home, you've got the down payment, closing costs, moving expense, whatever is part of that, tax free. And let's say you choose 25 years from now or whatever it is that you don't, and then you do the same thing, you transition that into a retirement account. Right. I'd love to see that as a strategy that we help not only get rental properties available, but also find a way to transition from rental to home ownership if that's your plan. There's things that we can do.
That's awesome. That is, I can talk to you more and more about this, but I do need to get to question 4, which is a separate question, and it might get us back here. But
so I have one more thing to add before we move forward to the next question. If you're going there, we've touched on the younger generation. Yeah. The state of Maine right now is subsidizing associate college degrees, which is great. I said, but I think we need to take that a step back, and address our juniors and seniors. We have, the VOTEC programs. We've got some great opportunities in place, but it's 2 welding slots for 70 applicants. Same hold true for the mechanics. We need to really invest in that, because not all these kids want to go to college. Right. And while we have their interest in high school and they can bridge the gap and we're required to educate them through high school. That's our commitment to them and the families. But let's let them dabble in their interests and find what their desire is to make their career choice. But help them in the technical schools and really open up more opportunities. Instead of having 70 applicants, we should have 70 spaces. Yeah. And we need to find a way to really help them transition to their focus for a career, which may or may not include college, and that's okay. It's what's going to make them happy. And then with that, pair it up with affordable housing, and we've now addressed really and we want to help them not only to learn, but we want them to stay in Maine. They are our future. How do we maintain that and make them proud to be a permanent Mainer?
I mean, what if Maine became the tradesperson's state? What if vocational became what we were known for? I mean, there are some pockets and there's some things developing that might make that a possibility, and it's huge because these are wonderful careers, careers that people can start their own businesses when they're in their early to mid 20s.
Entrepreneurship is beautiful. It's a great thing to be able to do that, and Maine's a great state to do it. We are 99.2% small business. Yeah. You're more likely to be a small business person than you're not. So let's find a way to do that. And that's where I'd like to see us focus some of our expenditures is for our younger generation who absolutely is our future. The trade is you can there's a huge shortage for plumbers and electricians and all that. They make very good money. More than some of the other. We're paying $130 an hour right now for some of those. It's that's nothing to shake a stick at.
Well, and if something's wrong with your toilet, an influencer isn't going to help you fix that. You need a plumber for that. Right. So with that, question number 4, if voters could only know 2 things about you before they fill out their ballot, what would those 2 things be? Other way I've asked this question is after you've knocked on somebody's door, what do you hope they remember about you as you walk away?
Sure. I would say my experiences both in local politics and in real estate, I'm going to say make me the most suited candidate to help not only the people from District 24 for the state Senate, but also the entire state of Maine. As a co-owner of a national real estate magazine, I have the opportunity to connect with people that would not traditionally consider Maine a housing strategy, but I've shared the benefits of that. And I even took it upon myself over a year ago to put the University of Maine on the cover of the magazine. And that was very purposeful for a couple of things. One, I wanted to show how what a cool state Maine is. This University of Maine 3D printed a house in 6 days. And that same house is going to be They're going to build a 9-unit housing complex for the homeless. But we also use our pulp, which we have a significant amount of forestry here, to make that product. So now you're not only are we going to show housing, we're going to show how Maine is is a significant attraction to people and bring new business here. We can attract business just by being a really cool state. And I also, I think that I'm a dedicated person. Politics is no one should get into politics for glory. You should get into it for a duty to your community, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not trying to be a lifelong politician. I got into politics because this town asked my husband to ask me if I would run for the select board. And not only did he do that, he came home with 3 of the 25 signatures on the petition. I'm like, are you crazy? I'm running a company. I don't have time for this. And here I am, my second term, and now I've got the desire to take it farther because I've seen some things that we can do better. I'm not going to fault anything that we've done, but there's a lot of things that I think we can do better. Certainly the stabilization for the elderly in Maine needs to be revamped. We can do much, much better on that. And the LD 2003 program for accessory dwellings, I think we didn't, for a forced obligation from the state, every town has to put that as an ordinance. I don't think they finished that and made it a 90-day minimum rental time frame. We're not here to build weekly vacations. We're here to build housing with LD 2003. And in its current state, is not that committed. We need to commit better. And I'm committed to make everything work that I get involved in the state of Maine.
I could continue to talk to you, but I do want to keep this short enough so that people get through. But if people did want to talk more to you and find out, question 5, what's the best way for people to connect with you and find out more about you as a candidate?
Sure. So there's a couple ways. Well, it all stems from, I have a website. It's SuzanneAndresen.com. That's SuzanneAndresen.com. And my email, if you choose to send me a question, I will answer it immediately. It's Suzanne@SuzanneAndresen.com. Hopefully you'll vote for me.
Perfect. Suzanne, thank you so much. Anything else that I didn't ask you about that you want to throw in?
No, so one of the things I saw that to me was very rewarding in this process. I've had parties from both sides not only donate to my campaign, but also ask to put my sign on their front lawn next to their political affiliation, and both of them are different sides, and I truly feel that I am straddling the line of democracy for them, and that to me is rewarding. I'm representing everyone, and that's what I want to be considered as a candidate for everybody, and I feel I've achieved that.
That is a wonderful note to close on. Suzanne, thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and very nice to meet you.
Thank you. You too. Have a good day.